Okay, today we're doing lesson 4.6. We're decimal multiplication, the essential questions. How can we use a model to multiply decimals? So our question here is the distance from Charlene's house to her school is 8/10 of a mile. Charlene rides her bike 7/10 of the distance and walks the rest of the way. How far does Charlene ride her bike? All right, if you're not sure, because right away kids want to add these two together, but when it says she rode her bike 7/10 of the distance, so that's telling us we did it. Multiply of is a multiplying symbol. So instead of having of or multiplying, you could say 7/10 of 8/10 is. So draw a square so we have the square here, and it says what decimal value does each column represent? So your columns are going up and down, and what decimal does it represent? Each column is a tenth. So we could put a tenth in there, 1/10 or tenth. Using colored pencils, shade the column on the grid to represent the distance to Charlene's school. So go back up here to our information. To her school is 8/10 of a mile. So I'm going to shade in 8/10. Okay. The distance to the school is 8/10. How many columns did you shade? I did 8 of them because divided into the squares going this way. What decimal value does each row? So rows will go across, like if you're going through a row, and each one is 1/10. Use a different color to overlap and shade in the distance she rides. So I'm going to take it, and I know she rides 7. And overlap it, because one way you do columns, the other way you do rows. So how far did she ride her bike? 7/10. How many rows of the shaded column are shaded? How many rows of shaded columns are shaded? So what they're asking you is how many are shaded both. So if I look here, I'm just going to quick square this up. So I know this is an array. I can figure it out by going, I have 7 down and I have 8 across. That's 56. So I have 56 tenths. No, I don't have full ones, but each one of these is 100, so I know I have 56 hundredths. There are 56 squares. Each square represents a hundredth, so that tells me that this is 56 hundredths. So it's whatever's double squared. Alright, so let's go on. Don't need to do that. So let's do another one here, only this one is a little different because we have a whole number. So we're going to multiply what is 3/10 of 1 and 4/10. So shade the columns to represent 1 and 4/10. So first we're going to do one whole one and 4/10 more. How many tenths are there in that? Well, I know there's 10 here and 4 more, so there's 14 tenths. Now we're going to shade the rows. How many rows are shaded? So if I'm going to do 3/10, I got to do it to both squares. Why am I doing it to both squares? Because when I multiply, I have to do it to both of them. So I have to take 3 times 1 and 3 times 4/10 3/10 times 1 whole and 3/10. So I have to do both of shade them both. So now how many columns are shaded? How many rows of the shaded are shaded? Okay, so I know there's how many here because I have 3 and 10, so I know there's 30 here, and then I have to just this little square here, and I have 1, 2, 3 by 4, so that's 12. So 30 plus 12 is 42. So there's 42 squares shaded. And last, so how much is it? Well, I have 42. I don't have tenths. I have 42 hundredths. Okay. All right, now I want you to do some here. This is already shaded for you, and you can see it's a little bit darker. So what is this? And remember, always do array if you instead of counting each one. I know there are 8 this way, and I know there are 4 this way, so I know it is 24 hundredths. Oops, sorry. So I want you to do this one with your partner, this one. Let's do all of these, please. Don't have to go deeper yet. This will come back to, and then we have our homework and our famous evens. 1 or 2, and all of these. If you have time, go back, figure out what's wrong with the model, whose model is right, who made the error. So remember, I always say do your own model, and then you'll see how it goes. So this is just to show you what, when we multiply a part with a part or a part of a whole, what does it look like?